Hey everyone, and welcome back to the one minute writing tip podcast. Today is a special episode featuring a author guest, Alinka Rutkowska, who is the CEO of Leaders Press, a USA Today and Wall Street Journal best-selling press, where she creates books for entrepreneurs from scratch and launches them into bestseller with a 100% success rate. Not many can say that. She runs a hybrid publishing house with traditional distribution via Simon Schuster, through which more than 500 entrepreneurs have been able to share their stories with the world. Alinka has been featured by Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, Entrepreneurs on Fire, and numerous other outlets. Her mission is to help 10,000 entrepreneurs share their wisdom with the world by 2030. Alinka, thank you so much for joining me. It's such an honor to have you.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So just to get us started off, please do share a little bit about your background and your expertise and just how you ended up coming into this company and starting what you're doing.
Well, my background is in business. I studied marketing, economics, and then I went on to the corporate world where I worked in a bunch of different departments, from customer service to logistics to marketing, sales. And then I thought that maybe there's more to life than selling domestic appliances. And I started writing my first book while I was still in the corporate world. The royalties from that book exceeded my corporate salary, and that got me really excited. And I basically decided to take matters in my own hands, get into the publishing world. I started with my own book, then another one, then other authors asked me to help them with their marketing. And then at a certain point, I decided to package it all up. And that's how Leaders Press was born. And we decided to help authors get their books done from scratch and onto bestseller lists and into bookstores.
Wow, that's amazing. So what was that first book that just completely exploded beyond your expectations?
It was a self-help book. I think I was going through a quarter-life crisis at the time. So it was more like for me to be able to grow spiritually. And I think that was a hot topic at the time. And it was 2010. So it was easier. There wasn't as much competition. Self-publishing wasn't really that well known. People were just getting started. It wasn't in its infancy, but, way less saturated than right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you there. So after all of that experience and really diving into the publishing industry, especially after walking away from all those different areas of work, what would be your top 1 to 3 words of advice for aspiring authors who are in that same place? They're ready to start pursuing this dream, but maybe they're struggling with blocks or fears around the process.
I think it's a good idea to ease your way in. So maybe don't just leave everything cold turkey and something, things will work themselves out. They might. In many cases they do, but I sort of did it gradually. I had a parallel path. So if you're able to get started with your writing venture while you still have the security of an income, I think that's a good idea. And then there will be a moment, most probably, where you'll say, I'm just going to go all in.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that that's very wise, because a lot of times you kind of don't always know the exact outcome that book will have unless you have that input and that guidance through that process. So how can authors stay motivated to reach those end goals and that vision they have for themselves, especially as you were talking about having that parallel process or that parallel, those things occurring at the same time as you're pursuing that goal? And maybe the first book doesn't do as well as they thought, or they're finding it to be a more long-term journey. How do they stay motivated to continue to reach toward that?
Well, success is never a straightforward line. So it's ups and downs as you go up. It's important to see the big picture to understand that things are cyclical. So I think, that gives you a lot of strength, and you're able to be balanced and centered when you realize that. It's also important to understand when to persist and persevere and when to adapt, maybe pivot and just completely do something else. So there's a fine line there as well. On my way to, you gave my bio at the beginning. On my way to that, I was still discovering who I was. Like 5 years ago or so, maybe not 5, maybe like 7. As I was learning about the digital marketing world, all these things, I came across a course that was on Facebook ads, and it was basically about selling t-shirts. So you would come up with a niche, do one of those t-shirts like, a fabulous lady born in 1983. So you do this t-shirt and you target on Facebook females born in 1983. And so I was doing that for a moment, and when I started becoming profitable, it started working. I thought, okay, but I don't care about t-shirts.
Right.
Yeah. And then I went back to the book stuff. So that was sort of, I learned a lot. I learned about the importance of, you need an opt-in on your website. If you're going to do a Facebook group, you want those people to go through your email list as well. So I got started sort of through Facebook, but then I took people onto my platform. I learned that you need to have your own. And that was just like a total side trip there. But, I learned something from it. Maybe the most important thing that I learned was that I'm not passionate about t-shirts. And I am passionate about the publishing industry and books and marketing and helping entrepreneurs do all those things. So you might not know immediately, and it's fine. Just as long as you're on that path of self-discovery. And even after you've discovered yourself, you might then rediscover yourself, because you change, everything around you is changing, you're evolving, and there might be, multiple versions of yourself that you will want to experience, and it's fine. So I think if you have that freedom to grow and evolve, and I think that's just really these are the tasty things in life. You don't have to stand at an assembly line and screwing, putting in a screw for 8 hours a day. I don't think people do that anymore. There's robots for that, but the equivalent of it. If you're working in a job that feels like the equivalent of it, I'm pretty sure you don't feel your creative juices are flowing. You might be thinking, is that all there is to life? There's probably something that you are passionate about, that you're great at, and you just need to figure out how to create revenue out of it. And there are just so many ways. And if there aren't any, you can probably invent a way. There's a great way of thinking I came across just a couple of days ago. You can say, it's impossible, and shut your brain, or you could say, it's impossible unless. And then you start thinking. So don't just shut your brain, start thinking, and see what amazing things you can come up with.
Yeah, I love that you said that. And you brought up so many good points, just sharing about how it's important to just dive in and do something, because you can learn so much out of it. And even for people that, that they think they have this dream, or they think they want to do something, but then they're putting it off because they're afraid of the outcome. What if it doesn't do well, or what if, this and that, but it's better to just dive right in and go for it, and see what lessons you learn out of it, and then take those lessons into the next venture. Right. And so that way you continue to grow. And I think that's excellent advice. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. So on the topic of doing that and pursuing those ventures, especially if someone, so a lot of our listeners today, they've been wanting to write for a very long time, and they have this dream that's very deeply held. And so a lot of times they're at a place where they're like, I want to make this happen no matter what. Right. And so I mentioned earlier that it's important for them to be able to have that input and that guidance from someone who really knows what they're talking about and can help get them to that direction. And obviously you and your team and your company do that and work with authors to actually get those results. And so especially if they're wanting to tell their story, or they're wanting to link it to a business, or they're wanting to do something that really helps and impacts people and makes a difference, what would you say someone can expect by working with you and your team and partnering together with you to create that dream in that process?
With us, it's really easy. We take all the hard work away. So you come with a book idea, and you come out with a book on the bestseller list and in bookstores. And what's in between is basically, first of all, we want to see if your book idea is marketable. Can we make this a bestseller? If it's not, then we don't really want to work on it.
Yeah.
We want to direct you into thinking about something that would work. So we really want to see the book on the bookshelf among other best-selling books. That's the first thing we do. Once we've established that, we'll come up with an outline together, and then we start with the interviews. There's about 15 interviews. The questions all come in advance, so the author has a chance to prepare. And then those are all recorded and transcribed. And based on that, the ghostwriter writes the book. Then we do all the publishing things that need to be done to turn the manuscript into a book and get it into bookstores through our distribution partnership with Simon Schuster. That's one of the largest publishers. And depending on your goals, we can get it on the Amazon bestseller list or the USA Today or Wall Street Journal bestseller list. So it is an elegant solution when you come with an idea and you come out with a bestseller.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And I think especially for people who do have that idea that that is a great profitable idea, that could potentially also be a huge weight off their shoulders and a huge relief knowing that they have someone that can just take it and make it how it needs to be and all the heavy lifting and all that. So that sounds amazing. So if someone's listening right now and they're thinking, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing, that I think I have an idea like that and I would love to learn more, how can they do that? How can they learn more about you and Leaders Press and connect with you and start pursuing that process with you and your team?
The best place to go to is leaderspress.com/discover. And then you'll be able to go through a 1-minute quiz that will help you figure out what type of book is the best for you. And we'll also give you an audiobook of Outsource Your Book, which explains the 17 steps needed to create a best-selling book. And that's all at leaderspress.com/discover.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. So for all my listeners, if you are wanting to publish a powerful business growing tool and you feel like you have a bestseller idea and you would like to be backed by a team that knows the industry inside and out, knows how to get you featured, knows how to really set you up for success, Alinka and her team and company are absolutely the best way to go. So I will include the details that she shared and the links in the description as well for you guys. And Alinka, thank you so much for joining me and for sharing. It was so great to have you and such an honor to have your advice on the podcast.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad we were able to do this.
Yeah.